Dom, how
Hey
are
Mike,
you?
what's up?
And let me first of all say happy belated birthday to you. I don't
Thank
want to
you.
give away your birthday, but to everyone watching, Dom did experience a birthday.
Yep, yep. I'm not quite ready for the senior discount yet, but I can
Yeah,
see
but
it coming.
I'm well into mine. So you know it's that's funny. Not to get sidetracked, but I at first when I first start reached those years I used to always kind of like, oh, I avoid, but now it's like, hey, if I've got a some kind of discount I can take advantage of, because there's nothing else good about getting older. So but anyway, we are doing Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, which is my pick, and in honor of Dom's birthday he's going to sing the theme.
That
That's a joke.
was a huge hit for the
It
time.
was. I remember once in a while that song being on the radio. It's they used to put some weird shit on the
Oh,
radio.
they put some weird stuff on the
Yeah.
radio.
It's you don't see that quite as much anymore. But when I was younger, man, some of the movie themes that would be on, like the Goldfinger, that song Goldfinger was Goldfinger. It was all over the air when I was a little kid. And in fact, your Aunt Pat used to scare me because I was a real little guy. I was probably about six, something like five, probably. And she used to point her finger at me and go, gold. So that's the harsh.
Mike, there was a hit song about cannibalism. Remember the one where the people are trapped in the cave and
Oh,
that
yeah.
one guy, well, where did he go?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I'm like, this is really on the radio.
Oh, yeah. No, there were some real crazy, weird songs
It was that
growing
that
up. So,
crazy girl that kept that guy in a secret
oh,
room
yeah.
by the
Oh
bookcase or
yeah,
something.
yeah. There was a number of yeah, that the Helen there was that Helen Reddy song about the woman being, the what was it, what was the song about, it was she was like a spurned lover that kept a, or maybe it was just something in her head, but whatever the
Was
hell
that
it was.
Angie Baby?
Yes, Angie Baby, that was the one.
I
Yeah,
I rem I wrote a little piece on this a few years ago. The 70s had some really weird music on the
yeah.
radio.
Yeah, well, the 60s too. But yes, and this is a decidedly 60s movie. This was my pick, but I figured you should probably are ready with the intro for this one if you want to
Oh
give
yeah,
our
so Hush Hush
the
Sweet
audience.
Charlotte, 1964, starring Betty Davis and Olivia de Havilland.
Yeah,
Betty Davis
among
played,
many
hmm?
among many stars, but yes.
Among many stars, those were the biggest names that people would recognize these
Yes.
days.
Yeah.
So Betty Davis plays uh, this woman who,
A Southern Belle.
a Southern belle that when she was young was having an affair with a married man, but her father pressured this married man into breaking it off with her. And then he is murdered under mysterious circumstances, and everyone assumes it's Betty Davis's character.
Yes.
Everyone assumes it's the spurned lover.
And a very young Bruce Dern playing the
Oh man,
married
so
lover.
young,
What's that?
so young.
Yes, he looked like a baby in the movie. It was crazy, but yes,
So I'm guessing she was institutionalized. It's not outright said, but we don't pick up her story until 37 years later.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
now she's this spinster type woman living almost alone in this huge mansion. The only other person in the mansion is her housekeeper, her one and
Ag
only housekeeper.
played by the great Agnes Moorehead. But yes,
And now, like, everything in her life is in decline. She no longer owns the mansion. It's going to be torn down to make way for a highway. Everyone
she
considers
lives in the past. Yeah,
everyone considers her responsible for the murder and therefore crazy. And she's kind of shunned and ignored.
yeah. The neighborhood kids come by, and and mock her and sing "Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte" and
Hmm.
this little ditty about chopping off his hand and head,
Yep,
which
yep.
the
And
murder was completely grisly.
and so she's hoping that one of her distant relatives, her cousin, that used to live with her as a little girl, comes to a visit and helps persuade the highway commission to not put the highway through her mansion, therefore allowing her to keep it.
Well, and they're at completely opposite ends because she has, as time sometimes does to us, we sometimes remember things and people differently than the
Hmm.
way that they actually were. And apparently, her cousin was always something of a bitch. And I hate to use that term, but yes. And so she thinks that she's going to come there and actually turn the highway department away from the house, and that the old mansion is going to be saved, and she's living in the glory and the past of her her father and this lover, which are both seen behind me right now, Bruce Stern and the father, who's played by the great Victor Bueno, by the
Hmm.
way, who played all kinds of disturbed roles in his life.
He was
But
in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
yes, yep, and he played in the movie The Strangler, which I really want to do one day.
Also,
Um,
the Dean Martin movie, The Silencers.
yes, he mostly played bad guys, but yeah, and this is, I guess it was the night that they're having this big ball at the mansion. That's when he calls Bruce Dern into um, the his his office to tell him, you're going to break this off, and it's not,
But,
there isn't going to be any more affair.
but before we go much further, I do have to point out to those listening at home, we are going to live up to our title of spoiler alert. We're going to be
No,
talking about all facets of this movie, and there's
uh,
no way we can't give spoilers. So,
yeah, no, it's going to be filled with spoilers, and uh, I grew up watching this movie. I have to say this. I definitely this was a movie that as a kid, as a young kid, I remember watching this movie. Our family was really into horror, and probably affected me all my life because there was some really gory, crazy horror movies that I saw at a young age, and it didn't affect me in the least. but but yeah, this is Bruce Dern actually having his hand chopped off. So very grisly murder scene, and but yeah, this was a well-loved movie for me, as was Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and all these different um, all these different movies with both Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. And there was Straight Jacket with Joan Crawford, which I loved, which is another gory one. But I still remember that there was reading a lot of reviews about these movies and how critics tore both Betty Davis and Joan Crawford apart for taking these roles. And if you think about it, Hollywood has always been kind of unkind to females as they get older. When they're young and they're pretty and they're vital, they're given all kinds of roles, usually not necessarily the best roles, but they give them roles so that they can, uh, subject them to whatever. But it's like I said, um, their careers had really waned, and they were not getting parts, either one of them. And they both revived their careers tremendously, including drawing attention to their earlier roles by taking roles like this. And they live on probably in people's memory as much for these roles as they do for all the criticism that they
probably
faced.
more so.
Yes. I mean, a movie like this, um, and Betty Davis, I think she did a terrific job
I,
acting as the
I
crazy
I
lady.
would say the best part, because you know me, I've got my criticisms of this movie. The best part, bar none, is the acting.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I love when Betty Davis is she's an odd character because she's so caught up in the past. And in a lot of ways, she was supposed to be part of the camp and humor to this was how they were blending her. She was as an older actress playing this young ingenue that's coming into this scene behind me.
But I mean,
Um,
this had so much in common with Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
oh my God, yes,
Written by the same people,
yeah,
directed by the same director.
yeah.
I mean, there were so many similarities.
Well, again, like I said, I I don't think anyone has to wonder did Mike like this movie because yes, I certainly did. I picked it for one thing, and I picked it for a reason. I really truly love this movie. It's a beloved horror movie for me, something that has a lot of nostalgia and memories. It's creepy, it's campy, it's kitschy, um, and it's also a terrifically acted film with a terrific cast. Joseph
Terrific
Cotton,
cast, terrifically acted.
yeah. I mean, Joseph Cotton is a really well-known, terrific actor. He's in this movie, upper corner there, and the great Agnes Moorehead, if you know her from nothing else, she was Andorra on Bewitched, um, and but she was the mother-in-law on Bewitched to Darren's consternation all the time. She was always turning him into something or doing some kind of spell that caused him to act erratically. But she's terrific in this. You've been giving her drugs, but she's great as the feisty
She
maid.
is probably one of the best. She might be the best actress in
Yes,
this movie.
in this
Like
movie, yeah.
nothing against Betty Davis. Betty
No,
Davis is phenomenal, but Agnes Moorehead,
oh my
wow.
God. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And the actually there's a lot of that's her Betty Davis and Agnes Moorehead together, and there's actually a really kind of a sweet relationship because Betty Davis she is caught up in the past and she's kind of like she can't move forward. She's never been able to move forward past the events of her life at that party where her lover died, and Agnes Moorehead is just this faithful uh, servant around the house that just cares for her and nurtures her, and she just wants the best for her. She kind of, I mean, there's one part where she has the line. She says she's not crazy. She just acts like that because thinks people expect her to act like that. Um, but she's very loving and nurturing too. But unfortunately, things don't end well for the for the maid. Not with psychotic Vivian Leigh around because she's she's completely you think Betty Davis is nuts. She has a whole nother level of
Olivia de
Olivia de
Havilland.
Havilland. I said Vivian Leigh, Olivia de Havilland. But yeah, she has a whole another level of crazy.
Well, what is even more impressive is we never get to see the film that the director intended because he intended Joan Crawford to play that role.
Yes, and actually, there's a lot of. I actually almost mixed them in because I was actually getting confused, saying people have stuck um, shots of the film and interposed Joan Crawford into some scenes
Yep.
because yes, you are right. And you want to expand on that or
Well, I would like to also say, when we post these videos, I usually like to include some links below to give extra info about the film or behind the scenes info about the film. I found a clip of Joan Crawford
wow,
acting in this movie that was
wow,
never made it to the movie because it was cut because she never finished the film.
wow, okay.
So
See, I didn't realize what you're saying. I didn't realize it got that far. I heard there was a possibility that she was
Yeah,
going to play
so
the role.
so um the director Robert Aldrich wanted to capitalize on the success of whatever happened to Baby Jane, which was a Betty Davis Joan Crawford matchup.
Right.
And they had a great dynamic together because from what I hear, they kind of hated each other.
They did. They did. Yeah.
So they had a historic feud. So between their acting chops and the rumors of their feud, talk about a box office draw. Unfortunately, when they started filming this movie, Betty Davis got in really good with the director, with Aldrich, and she started making artistic changes, much to the detriment of Joan Crawford's role. She started cutting lines out, changing things around. She made sure that when they were put up in these bungalows, Joan Crawford had a smaller one than hers. She never missed a chance to, get some jab in on Joan Collins. And so Joan Collins finally said, "Look, I'm out of here."
Joan Crawford. Yeah. But yeah.
Crawford, yeah, Joan
Yeah.
Crawford finally said, "I'm done,"
Yeah.
and walked away from the role.
Yeah. There's there's one of the scenes which I assume somebody just supplanted Joan Crawford into
Hmm.
the scene. But yeah, in a lot of ways, it's unfortunate that they didn't have Joan Crawford and Betty Davis together in
Oh,
this
it's
one
very unfortunate.
because they were really good together. The fact that they disliked each other when you put them together in a film, whatever happened to Baby Jane being a prime example.
Talk about
Um,
sparks flying with that.
oh, oh my God! Well, you know that there's a scene in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane where Betty Davis is slapping Joan Crawford, and I always heard that Betty Davis put a lot more pop into those slaps than was necessary because they really did not like each other. And Joan, at one point when Betty Davis was accepting an Academy Award, Joan Crawford got herself to present the award to Betty Davis so she could upstage her. I mean, it was all about really, they actually, like Betty Davis made a very famous remark about Joan Crawford. She said, I don't like her, but she's a terrific actress and she's really good at what she does. And so she did give her compliments, but it was, I think, because the two of them saw each other as rivals for a lot of the same roles for they're just their career.
And they
I
were
think
contemporaries.
yes, yes, and so because of that, I think it made for probably a real tough you know hey, again, I said it earlier, women have a much tougher time. It's a little easier nowadays, maybe. But a lot of times for females, once they start to get older, just the way we look at women and men and roles and things, older guys are still getting, and sometimes ridiculously so, but they're getting parts that like should be meant for a younger male, but just the way people age and just the way Hollywood and people in society view women and men.
Well, hence the Demi Moore in The Substance.
Yes, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's everything that movie was about.
and that's another movie. I'd love to do that one. That's actually a pretty terrific movie,
That's a
and
pretty terrific movie.
it says a lot about how we look at females and certainly Hollywood. I mean, and again, these movies here gave such a revival, even to Olivia de Havilland there behind you. Um, that this was she wasn't young when she played it. She was younger than Betty Davis, but she wasn't young, and she was terrific in this role.
She
So,
was, but she didn't like it.
oh, I'll bet, I'll
She
bet.
hated the role. There's only one
Really,
reason she did the movie, And that's
Money.
because she was really good friends with Betty Davis.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny because I kind of really felt like the difference between Joan, and there's a scene of the two of them together both getting their flowers. Um, but I when you look at this role, I always thought that Olivia de Havilland was having fun with the role, but probably not. She probably it wasn't a role she
This was
normally.
such a purely evil character.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, she's plotting um the takeover of wealth of her cousin, and she wants to seize the wealth and seize the estate and put Betty Davis in an insane asylum. And Joseph Cotton, who had a terrific career, he's in the scene behind me there, and he's playing the doctor, the evil doctor. So, like
This
like
is one
Austin
of the
Powers
many,
might
many
say.
things about this movie that doesn't make any sense to me, though.
What's that?
So, so this woman, this cousin, has always had the plan to get Betty Davis committed and take her fortune.
Yeah,
But she waits 37 freaking years. Now,
yeah, but
by all accounts, the town already thinks that she's crazy. Her doctor is in on the plan. All he had to do was
well,
help her
yes,
committed.
yes and no, Dom. Here's the thing. First of all, one of the reasons why one of the reasons why she's not acting to do this with taking over the estate and having her committed is because the wife of, and we're spoiler alert, so this is a
Yeah.
spoiler. But the wife of the philanderer, the Bruce Dern, Jewel Mayhew is the woman's name, and she is actually the real murderess.
Hmm.
And and it's said by Olivia de Havilland in the movie, but she said one of the most fortuitous things that ever happened to me was the night that I saw Jewel Mayhew follow her husband into the whatever it was, the it was
That's
plant,
that room, whatever
I
that room.
started, yeah, I started to say planetarium, but it wasn't. It was like a greenhouse where he was killed, and where he was supposed to be meeting Betty Davis. And she saw the murder that Jewel Mayhew committed, and she proceeded to blackmail her all her life, and to the point that Jewel Mayhew, seen behind me, in her older years, her fortune was actually bled out. That's how badly she was being blackmailed. And Olivia de Havilland was living a luxurious life off of this woman's money, just so the woman could stay out of jail. And so when the money ran out, and we hear that later in the movie that the money has run out and she's broken and she's dying too. That's when Olivia de Havilland decides all those years, and she'd been writing letters to Betty Davis that sounded, they were poison letters to make it sound like Jewel Mayhew was blaming her and had these horrible feelings towards her about what happened. And it turns out that that was all Olivia de Havilland. So she's just an evil woman. And
Yeah,
as
but
soon as,
but but why wait so long? You could, by all intents and purposes, it would not be hard to convince people Betty Davis, her character was crazy. So the
right.
commitment part, particularly since the doctor is on Olivia de Havilland's side, the she could have had her committed at almost any time. And
He,
having her committed would not have stopped the blackmail because
yeah,
she still could have put that woman in jail.
right. But here's the thing. She wanted the woman's money. This is a ruthless woman. And as
Not
far as the
ruthless
doc,
enough.
but well, nothing's enough to someone that's, well, there it's
She
never
could have had
enough.
the mansion. She missed out on the mansion.
Right. Well, she would have lost that too when the highway came through.
She would have sold it at a
Prob
premium to the state. She would have
that's
made a fortune.
well, that's true. And Betty Davis could have, and that, by the way, supposedly is the original or is the mansion.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't do any research on where that is located, but
That is in Louisiana.
yeah, which is where the movie takes place, right?
Yep, yep.
Um, but as far as the doctor goes, just to clarify that part, but the doctor was her old love, was Olivia de Havilland's old lover, and they had broken up. But and I guess she blames Betty Davis for that too. But anyway, Joseph Cotton, but he actually comes under Olivia de Havilland's spell once more when she gets there, and they kind of conceive of the plot. They're kind of making it up as they go along because there's a point where they're talking, and she kind of convinces them it wouldn't be that hard to, and because he's kind of just going along as her doctor up until the
Well, I
point
mean, he's
where,
getting a generous cut.
oh, of course, and um, once he finds out more details and the fact that Livy de Havilland had killed the maid, then he had something on Livy de Havilland, and he wants even more money. So, but when he finds out about her blackmailing Joel Mayhew, she basically says to him, "Do you still think you should be the senior partner?" And he goes, "Ah, maybe I shouldn't be." And so, but I don't know. Like I said, I love the way everything just interacts with this movie. Um,
I
all
mean,
the
the movie happens. It seemed like she waited way too long and put way too much work into what she could have done much easier.
well, you have to look at how life a lot of times unfolds and how people, you know, when you
37 years.
I know, but when you think of she had a cash cow and the cash cow was keeping her in a very luxurious life. And so to me, there was no point, there was absolutely no point in her making too many waves and drawing too much attention to herself when it didn't need to happen. She played,
Even if she had waited 20 years, still a long time to wait.
yeah, yep,
She
but
probably still would have gotten the mansion
but
and the money.
she had a ton of money. I mean, she bled Joel Mayhew dry. So she was to the
You think
a
she
very
wouldn't have wanted more? You think she thought, well, I could have that mansion. I could have that money now, but I'm getting this source for now. So let's let that
sure
sit.
because she knew that was waiting in the wings. She knew Betty Davis was getting older. She already knew she had her on a, sometimes you keep something on a back burner, and I think that's what
For
she was doing.
37 years.
Hey,
It
if
just makes
nothing
no
else,
sense to me.
Dom, if you think about it, Olivia de Havilland was probably Betty Davis's only living heir. I think she even says it at one point. And so, other than the maid, which I'm sure and she would have taken care of the maid in her will, but had they not killed the maid,
Hmm.
but I mean, um, if nothing else, when Betty Davis died, she knew she would have the money, if nothing else. So, like I said, I don't think there was any like I don't think there was any dire need to do
No, no,
all that
no.
stuff at once.
If she had tried to do this whole plan in 5 years, yes, that's too quick. That's dire need. But 2 decades, I think, is long enough. And you're going to go almost double that.
Well, once again, she wasn't living a life of poverty. She was living in Europe. She was traveling. She had, all the money she really needed at hand, and she knew Betty Davis and the mansion were on the back burner. And it wasn't until Betty Davis started writing her and telling her, "Oh, they're going to take the house. The highway department's coming through." Olivia de Havilland was like, "I better get there and get the money," and so she came rushing in to scoop up what she felt like, oh, this could be trouble, so I need to take care of it. And I that's the way I looked at how everything unfolded. Um, I mean, yeah, if she'd been more ambitious, but hey, we can't all be Jeff Bezos, you know. He would have taken everything at once, but
I just think of Kate Blanchett's character in Nightmare Alley.
right, right.
She would
Well,
have taken
oh
everything.
my God, yeah. And that is another movie that I found completely entertaining, fun, and horrific at all the same time. But but yeah, this movie as a child just terrorized me. This scene here, which is a horrible shot here, but that's Betty Davis kind of almost crawling up the stairs after they've disposed of the doctor's body. He's not even really dead, but she thinks he is, and that
That
he,
isn't, and that's another part. Like, that's a huge ruse. That's so much work to go through.
yep.
They
Well,
didn't need to do that. I
well,
mean,
no,
maybe they were having fun,
well, no, but I think they were having fun, especially Olivia de Havilland, because I think she really truly hated Betty Davis all her life, envied Betty Davis, even though the family had taken her in and treated her really nicely. She was the poor scandalized
well,
cousin.
we don't know how she was really treated because Olivia de Havilland's character, she doesn't remember herself being treated nicely.
Well, I mean, she said her explanation was kind of like, "Oh, you brought me into the house, and you bought." It was like, and Betty Davis was like, "Yeah, well, we took you out and bought you clothes." And she goes like, "Yeah." She goes, "But I didn't go to the same stores that you went to." And she was like, "Well, you still dress pretty nicely," and which I think she did. But but yeah, she kind of kind of resented the way she felt she was treated
Right, right.
differently.
And we don't know. That feeling could have been perfectly reasonable because we never see how she was treated.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know, and I don't know how I'd feel. I didn't have to be raised that way, so it's easy for me to say. But at the same time, if I wish I had some rich relatives myself, because I never have, and I work hard for my money. But but as far as if I had a rich relative and they had taken me in when I had nothing and nobody, I think I kind of would have felt some gratitude, even if they didn't treat me like they treated their own kid. I would still feel grateful for the fact that I still got to live in a mansion and get my clothes bought for me and have really good foods and good wines and things like that growing up and good schooling. I'm sure she was educated very
We don't
well.
know any of that. I mean, for all we know, Betty Davis's father was sexually abusing her as a girl.
Well, that's never
We don't know what happened.
right.
It could be
Well, I mean,
anything.
Betty Davis could have sexually molested her too, and I don't think
Right,
she did.
right.
But I don't think she did. I don't think Charlotte was actually doing that. But but
And look at this. Like, she's taking pot shots at people in broad daylight. You really think they needed the doctor to dress up as her dead lover? I mean, come on.
but the sheriff is actually her friend. He's coming out to the house and he's saying,
But the sheriff is not the one that with the power to commit. It's the doctor.
true, but the doctor at that point was only just treating her, and he was basically saying uh, he had no you know conspirator of to help him out. So he was basically just treating her with the idea that he had no way of gaining anything. It wasn't until Olivia de Havilland comes in and starts talking about, well, we can take the money, and then he starts realizing, oh yeah, if I hook up with Olivia de Havilland again, then she can get the money as being the only living heir and take over as the power of attorney. So that was when he starts really getting in on the plan. But before that, he had no reason to commit her, and so she was just an
No, he
extent.
didn't. But Olivia de Havilland's character, she's writing Betty Davis for
Yeah,
37 years. She's writing these letters. she doesn't think she's going to need her ex-lover's help, the doctor's help. She's not going
Well,
to write to the doctor and say, "Hey, here's my plan."
I think she was no, I don't. I mean, she apparently didn't because they actually had to have the
She
conversation.
apparently didn't, but it just
So
again, it just seems strange to me.
as soon as they hooked up again, and she probably knew that he was fairly easy to manipulate, at least sexually, when she was younger. So she probably figured, he's going to be the same old pushover, and which he was, and he was greedy and bad, just like her. Um, but both of them, as soon as they come together, this conspiracy of evil starts happening as soon as they join forces. But once again, like I said, I don't know. We could argue that one all day long, but I just look at it as that was just the way life unfolds.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, I mean, you know, I mean, you see that with you see that with people in real life. Sometimes they don't act until they act, and when they do, then it's like Scott Peterson when he married his wife, and I'm sure he probably he always was an evil bastard because that doesn't start overnight. You don't just suddenly think, I'm going to kill my pregnant wife so I can get together with this other woman and think that, well, I won't have to divorce her and I won't lose half the house. And it's like, you don't have half the house now. You're in prison, you dumb dumb idiot, but dumb evil idiot. But I mean, unfortunately, human beings, they're not only sometimes evil, but they also are stupid, which is probably good in a lot of ways because at least they get caught.
hmm
Um, an evil bastard like Scott Peterson, he's where he belongs because not only of his evil but also his stupidity. So between the two things, you're right where you belong there, Scott Peterson. You kill a pregnant woman. That's to me, it's one of the ultimate evils. But yeah, so like I said, I just feel like that's part of what this is. It's people being their evil selves, and they make it up as they go along. It's for better or worse, and usually it's for the worse when it's people like this. But yeah, you're making me as much as I truly love this movie just as it is, you make me also pine for the fact that if Joan Crawford had been in it, it probably would have been that much better.
Oh my God, this movie would have been amazing with Joan
Oh
Crawford.
my God, yes. Yeah, I love Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Um, I love
Yeah,
Straight
nothing
Jacket.
against Olivia de Havilland. She's a great
No,
actress, but
no, she did good in this.
in this particular role, I think Crawford would have just blown it away.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I do too. And again, it isn't anything against Olivia de Havilland, but I don't think Olivia de Havilland had the level of evil that could have been pulled out the way Joan
Right,
Crawford.
right.
Um, and
Like
it's
I
got.
think
Go ahead.
Olivia de Havilland in this movie was evil, but she wasn't scary to me anyway. I think Joan Crawford would have been genuinely terrifying.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because if you think about it, in other roles, like again, Straight Jacket being a prime example, and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, even though Joan Crawford was playing sort of the good sister, and she wasn't really. I mean, at the end of the movie, it's revealed that uh, she had actually deliberately tried to kill Betty Davis, and that's why she ended up a cripple. And Betty Davis always thought that, like this movie, where Betty Davis realizes, oh, that it was actually Jewel Mayhew, and Betty Davis wasn't even sure. Like, I mean, everyone was blaming her, and she thought her father had done it, and she was protecting her father in this. But it's like, again, a life wasted all because somebody chose to, you know,
I gotta say, I find this to be I found this to be a profoundly sad movie.
It is.
That's the overwhelming emotion I feel when I watch this because these are very, very profoundly unhappy people,
Yes. Yeah.
many of who have wasted their entire lives.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All on and which people that's the unfortunate part is that's what people do. And sometimes over money or sometimes
Mm,
over something silly. Betty Davis's need to protect her daddy, um, who actually there's a line there where Joseph Cotton's talking about um, the Bruce Dern's character there, and also the father, and he says
Big
that
Sam Hollis.
yeah, Big Sam. He says Big Sam, and I can't even think of Bruce Dern's the character's name right now, but he says the two biggest philanderers in all of Louisiana, which is one of the things that makes Betty Davis furious. Um, but um, but yeah, like I said, she was protecting a name that pretty much everybody already knew that the guy was, you know, an evil bastard. So, like I said, and you just talking about you were saying, well, even that elaborate plan that they had, but one of the things that they were going on and talking about when Betty Davis pushes the planter off of the balcony down onto the two of them and crushes them both. Um, they're talking about, well, wait till everyone sees um, her face when you walk into the room because she thought that Joseph Cotton, her doctor, was dead already, and and they expected like her to start screaming as she sees uh, Joseph Cotton come waltzing into the room to give his diagnosis on her mental health, and that's what finally pushes her over the edge at the very last, and
And
down goes.
there's another thing, like the coup de grace of this whole plan is that they hide that gun in the bouquet of flowers. And so when she thinks she's seen her long dead lover, she freaks out and fires the gun that appears to kill the doctor.
Right.
Why
The
did
old
she put,
Hollywood, the old Hollywood loaded with blanks.
why did she put blanks in the gun? She
Well,
could have killed the doctor off.
and
That's a
that's
guaranteed commitment.
and that's brought up. She actually brings that up to Joseph Cotton, and she says, um, "Just think, I could have put real bullets in that gun." And but of course, we all know why she didn't do it because had she put the bullets in the gun and killed him, first of all, a real body to dispose of,
No, no,
which,
you don't dispose of the body. You
well,
just
yeah, that's true. They could have left it there and just called the
she would have gotten everything she wanted, would have had to share.
right. But it's a lot messier. There's more things that can go wrong. When you think of a plan, it's actually, and she also, the very fact that if she kept Joseph Cotton alive, that's not to say she wasn't going to kill him later to get
Mhm.
him out of the picture. And we know she would have. She would have done it in another place,
I
probably in
figured
Europe.
that he was dead either way.
Yes, but she needed him, if nothing else, to sign papers saying that Betty Davis was mentally ill to corroborate the very fact that they had driven Betty Davis mad. Um, but yeah, so there was a plan, whether or not you agree with her methods for the plan. But Mert, let's face it, you think Scott Peterson was really? I keep bringing him up, but
Yeah,
but
you
uh,
must have just seen a documentary or something because I know the name. That's the extent of my knowledge.
he's the one that was living, I believe, off the coast of San Francisco with his wife. She was pregnant. He had a lover on the side. He decides for whatever reason he doesn't want to be married to the woman that he's knocked up with a kid, their first child, and as far as I was concerned, the other girl wasn't any pretty or had anything else better going for her. But he kills his wife, disposes of her, puts her body in a whatever, takes her out to the out on the bay, and disposes of her body, which later washed up to the surface. And that his lover, probably because she thought to herself, "Oh, I'm going to get drawn into this thing too," or maybe she really did have a conscience when she realized that he was a married man, um, or whatever the deal was. She decided to bring her testimony to the police, which helped get him convicted. But but yeah, I like I said, it's I don't know. Every once in a while, I hear some story about the case. Now, getting back to this movie and Scott Peterson, another thing that I have to point out, I think this movie was terrifically shot. This
Correct.
the scene behind me, some of the staircase shots, the lighting. I just feel like, well, of course, I think they were probably really copying from Hitchcock, but
They were, but it was a great copy.
yes, I mean, there's so many scenes. Even this scene here, that the just the angle that he shot at, um, his face and their Big Sam there behind him, looming over him. Um, I just think that they shot this movie terrifically.
I,
The
I
cinematography,
definitely noticed that as well.
and and for a movie that I don't think the budget had to have been huge. I
Two
mean,
million,
what's that?
$2 million
Well,
dollars.
yeah, that's decent, I guess, for back then. I don't know what.
Right. It's not, we're not talking huge blockbuster dollars, but
Yeah,
not that small. Although that probably most of that went to Davis.
right. Well, and by the way, yeah, I'm sure she probably. But then they did have some heavy names in this. Joseph Cotton had to be paid. Olivia de Havilland had to be paid. Bruce Dern, of course, he got a pittance because he was.
No
Agnes
one knew
Moorehead
him.
probably. What? I'm sorry. What?
No one knew him at that time.
No, he was completely unknown. As far as I mean, he had been in westerns and things like that. Always played a bad guy and um, kind of a sleazy guy. But yeah, his career had not taken off, and once again, I do have to point out too, this character actor here, and I've
Cecil
got
Kellaway.
yes, I always have to reach for his name, but he's a character actor. He's been in a lot of movies. I think he's a real terrific presence in movies. I really like the character, and so once again.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and a super young George Kennedy.
Yes, as a construction worker, bulldozer. Well, actually, he was the foreman
Yep.
on the job, um, getting shot at by Betty Davis.
It
So, but
was a good
she,
shot, shockingly.
well, she was. Well, hey, listen, I've got relatives from the South, and they a lot of the women shoot as much as the men, or almost as much as the men, and some of them are pretty damn good shots. And when George Kennedy says, "You could have killed one of my men," she
Hmm.
says, "If I'd have meant to kill him, he'd be dead right now." But and
And
she
you
was a
believed
kid.
her.
What's that?
And you believed her on that one.
Yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely. I felt pretty darn sure that Betty Davis was fully capable of hitting that guy if
Hmm.
she wanted to hit him. So she wasn't wildly shooting. She was effectively shooting to scare them off. But again, like I said, this movie, there is a lot. I have to admit, there's a lot of nostalgia for me. Watching this as a young kid, right on through. I watched this movie so many times over the years, and just watching it with family too. That's the other thing. Hey, you're my nephew, my brother, in many ways, and I mean, I don't know how much you remember seeing this, but I certainly do, and
Oh, I remember seeing it. But
yeah.
again, the overwhelming feeling I attach to this film is just sadness.
Well. I don't know. I definitely feel the end of the movie, um, when the writer comes out to give, because he had been entrusted with a letter from Joel Mayhew to pass on to Betty Davis upon her death. Um, and she was so afraid of being put in jail that she didn't want that letter to be seen until after she died. Um, when she finally gives it to, when finally gives it to Betty Davis, and Betty Davis at that point is being driven off in a cruiser because she just killed Olivia de Havilland and Joseph, which, with her money, I think she probably had a reasonable shot of getting off on that one. But
Uh, that was
especially,
another thing. She was supposed to be richer than God.
yeah. But she did have a certain level of crazy at that point. The whole thing had kind of driven her batty. She had the need to protect her daddy. So I think she was probably incapable, as the years went by, probably became worse and worse for her to do anything. And let's face it, as much as you can talk about in real life, when people I don't care whether I've seen a lot of rich people that weren't able to get out of their own way. I knew a lady, and I think I if you might remember the person I'm talking about. She lived down in Marblehead, Mass. And there was a branch of the family that we were moving for that was up in Kennebunkport, and that's all I'll say about that. But we started doing some antique moving and delivery for this one lady that lived down in Marblehead, extremely wealthy, could have lived anywhere, lived in a rundown place, was actually kind of petrified of being in the place. She was all by herself. She had a lot of relatives, and a lot of the relatives wanted to put her away too. I mean, in many ways, she was very much like a Betty Davis, or Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, her character. And the woman kind of freaked me out a couple of times when I was in her house, and she started talking real crazy about how things were being moved around her house. I mean, Walt, my buddy Walt, he said, well, maybe somebody is doing it. And I thought, well, she does have a lot of crazy relatives that maybe want her money and, wanted to see her put away so they could get their hands on her money. So, I mean, there's some stories in real life that aren't far off
That's
from
true.
so, and that was that what I'm saying there about that woman was actually very, very true story. It was very much a true story.
Well,
So,
I have to bring the focus back to the movie
yes.
by giving it one thumb up.
Well,
It's a classic. The
I'm
acting
offended.
is great. The
I'm offended that you
cinematography
can
is
only
great.
muster up.
I hate sad movies.
I know, but I I felt like the truly sad part was the ending when she's being driven off. She gets the letter, starts to read it, realizes it was never her father, and she is smiling. And that's the saddest part is that she's like, wow, she finally realizes I could have been free of all of this. So that was but before that, I found it more, uh, it was campy, it was scary, it was kitschy, it was all of those things.
I
And
saw nothing but tortured souls.
I fully give this two thumbs up. I love this movie. I wish I could actually give it 100 thumbs up because I like it so much. And that's I have high praise for this movie. And I would love to see in the comments, please. We never get comments. Um,
We get a few, but not enough.
Not enough.
And rarely about the movie.
Yeah, rarely about the movie. So usually we get a comment about whether somebody liked one or both of us, or whether they just were talking about something about you know another movie that they want to see, whatever, which is great. But how about commenting on the movie? Um, can we get
Yeah,
some?
because there's got to be some Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte fans out there.
Oh my God, yes. This is a cult. This is a cult classic.
It is.
Absolutely. Um, just like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is a cult classic. But yes, I give it two solid thumbs up. I love the film, and I'm offended that you only could muster up one thumb for for this great cast. But
I
no,
knew you would be, but I got to call it like I see it.
no, I'm joking. Again,
Acting is amazing. You're right. The framing, the cinematography is incredibly good,
yeah.
but just the story itself is so sad.
Oh, it absolutely is. It is, but it's to me, it's um, so much of what we see. There's enough crazy scenes going on that I didn't really start to feel the sadness until the very end of the movie, and so it's bittersweet when it ends. But I didn't feel hardly any of it. It all comes heavy on you at the end, but up until that point, it's just kind of fun. So yeah, like I said, I think we've said all that we can say about this one. And to that end, Dom, it was fun. I really enjoyed having a
Always fun. Love
discussion
it.
with you about this one. I hope everyone else did. Please, if you're listening, like, subscribe, suggest movies, comment on what you thought of this movie, whether you thought we were right or wrong about our opinions on this, whatever. We love the comments. And Dom, next week is your pick.
It's my pick. It's
Do you
my
have
pick.
one?
And I do. I do. And I got to tell you quick because as you know, I'm living in Portland. So the city is burning out of control and roving bands of Antifa are I can hear gunfire in the distance. So I better tell you, but while I still can.
I was gonna say, I hope you're joking. I think you are.
I think you
Uh,
know I am.
I think yes, I do. I absolutely do.
But
So,
I am going to pick one of my all-time favorite movies. I've been waiting to pick this one since we started this channel.
wow, wow.
Happy Death Day.
Okay. Um, I know the name, and offhand, I'm gonna have to think. I know the movie, but I really can't picture what it is yet. And I'm 99% sure I've seen it.
I'm
So
positive, I'm definitely positive you've seen it.
yeah, I'm sure I have. But okay, well that sounds like a good solid pick for Halloween. We are in a Halloween season, by the way, for everybody.
Nothing but horror.
Yeah, expect until October's over. Um,
And
you never
even
know
then,
with us. Well, you never know with us. We might throw you a a wrench in the works, but we've been kind of sticking with horror lately. So yeah, I'm
and
anxious
I'm
to
cheating
do.
a little, this is a comedy horror.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, comedy horror is good too. I truly enjoy that. But all right, I think we can wrap this one up. And Dom is gonna we're gonna go out with Dom singing "Hush Hush We," the
I,
theme
I
song.
don't even know the words other than
Well, I
hush, hush,
actually
sweet.
do, but my voice is so bad that nobody wants to hear. Sometime we should do one where we're really drinking hard, and then we can sing we'll do a musical sing along, a karaoke one.
I'm waiting for Strange Brew to do the hard drinking one.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that's a movie we have to do.
Oh, but again, I've been waiting to do that one too, but
Yeah,
we'll get to it.
no, definitely. And that movie actually, that's in some ways that I guess you could call that a comedy horror itself, depending on what you think of the movie. But yeah, Dom, I had a lot of fun with this one, and
Always fun.
I hope everybody else did that we're watching. And so we will get back to you for better or worse next week, and do it again.
You know it.
So
We'll see you next week, everyone.
yeah, we will see you again. So yeah, Dom, catch you next week, and everybody, thanks for listening.